Good morning. Good morning, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We will be starting very soon. May I kindly request you to take your seats? Thank you. Good morning. Can I ask you to kindly rise to welcome our minister and our deputy minister? Please give them a round of applause. And shall we remain standing for the AU and national anthems? I'm sure we can. Okay, it's coming. We are also live, so NBC will also give us a cue when we have to start. NBC, okay? So we are live. So shall we have the national and AU anthems, please, to start our event? Thank you. Shall we take our seats, please? My name is Ngidilma Daniel. I am the Executive Director in the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, and I have the pleasure of directing our ceremony this morning. I am delighted to be here and to welcome very full house. And I'm also delighted that we also have other fellow Namibians and stakeholder partners who are following virtually, thanks to NBC and the other media houses. I would like to set the protocols as follows. Honorable Erastus Utoni, Minister responsible for Urban and Rural Development. Honorable Evelyn Navases Taele, Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. Honorable Governors present. Honorable Chairpersons of Regional Councils present. The esteemed President of the Association of Regional Councils and also the Association of Local Authorities in Namibia present. Honorable Regional and Local Authority Councillors, esteemed Executive Directors, if any. I also recognize the members of the Board of Directors of NHE present, Chief Regional Officers, Chief Executive Officers of Local Authorities and Public Enterprises, development partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you with the following quote. Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Good morning and welcome to all of you once again. We are here for a milestone, and it's very gratifying to see that all of you have come through to positively respond to the call by the Honorable Minister, who is our guest and our host. You would have looked at the program, and we are going to have a very business-like program because we know time is money, and the people that you are entrusted and responsible for in the various regions and local authorities are waiting for you to deliver the service that they have entrusted to you. So we would not want to keep you here more than what is necessary. Above all, I just want to register our appreciation to our minister, who is the captain of our ship, and who continue to inspire us and to give us the direction that has made it possible for us to reach this milestone. According to the program, we're supposed to have the remarks, which I've just done, which is very short. And I want to already usher us to go to the next item, which is the presentation of what is this housing policy all about. And we are going to have that presentation from my director responsible for Habitat and Housing Development, Mr. Bigdon Konduda. And thereafter, we are going to have then the keynote address by our Honorable Minister. I want to urge that you make time and really listen to what Mr. Konduda is going to share with us, because it's very critical. We are here for the launch of the policy, but it's much more important that you'll hear from the people that are at the center of the drafting of the policy, so that when you go back to go and digest it, you would have at least had some basic understanding of what is contained in that policy, and most importantly, what is the role of each and every one of us. So the launch today is about the policy, but the policy is only as good as it is implementation. So together with the policy, there is an implementation action plan that sets out clearly what is the activities to be undertaken, when, by who, and what are the personnel and even financial implications, even timelines. So with that, please, I want you to join me in welcoming to the podium Mr. Bigdon Konduda, the director responsible for habitat and development, who will take us through. Mr. Konduda.
Director of Ceremony, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, please allow me to stand by the protocol as already established. My name is Big Don Konduda, as already mentioned, Director, Habitat and Housing Development. Good morning, all. Just adjust this. Okay, I'm going to start with I think we will go straight to the problem statement. Why was there a need for us to revise the policy or even to have a policy in the first place? We have a situation in Namibia where we have rapid urban migration, informal settlement, widespread poverty, and we know affordability is quite a challenge for the majority of our people in the informal settlement and who live in makeshift structures. And then also to come to identify and say the problem that we are having with informal settlement, what type of structure are required, and do those comply with the definition of adequate housing as defined and according to the affordability of our people. And then we also have unavailability of service land, limited public funding, and also limited coordination within the role players to coordinate the resources within Namibia to do any subsidy or crop subsidization in order to address the problem that are facing us. Okay. And then the key challenges, as I indicated before, is the rapid informal settlement, and then migration. Because where do these people come from? These people come from rural area looking for opportunity into our towns, into the towns. Now, as it is projected by around about 2030, the population in the urban area is going to exceed the population in rural area. So which means we need to change and not do business as usual in order to address the challenge and also what is facing us going ahead. And at the present moment, as one can see from the graph, 67% of our urban area population is already those who are in the low affordability range and in the informal settlement. So, and if that population is going to increase by 2030, that problem is even going to become bigger, that it is going to outstrip actually and come to a favela type of situation, and then it become uncontrollable. And we need to act then swiftly to try to address that problem while we can. Okay? If one can see from that graph that is on the screen now, we can see that the majority of the people who are in that group of the 67% are those people who are earning at least, let's say, from $1 or zero income, some of them have no income at all, up to around about 10,000. But the biggest population is actually the one in the 0 to 5,000 per month. So affordability become a challenge, and that also then must be a red light for us to say we need to find other alternative type of construction in order to address and to give people adequate housing or decent housing. As you can see there, the demand outstripped the supply. The rationale to come up with this revised policy is actually to create an overarching human right and to provide dignity to the people who are living in that makeshift structure. Whether is it from a sanitation point of view or even from a comfort point of view. But at least we have to find something, a middle ground that will address those problems for us all. And then that goes with it cannot only be a straightforward answer. Sometimes we need to revise policy because some of the policy might not talk to the problem that we have at hand. And then we also have to align this policy to various programs, such as to international human right and adequate housing, the right to adequate housing as defined in the UN Habitat, the African Agenda, Vision 2030, and Harambee Prosperity Plan. So we have to align this policy and the deliverables in line with those agendas as well. Guiding principle, climate change is one of the things that we also have to take into consideration, the living condition and microeconomic opportunity that need to be created. I think if we go back to the Urban and Regional Planning Act, we need inclusive planning. Plan with the people for the people. And that's why there are urban structure plans that require consultation so that at least community are consulted in order to have a product that works for the people in accommodation that also address the needs of the people, plus economic activity. Because by the end of the day, economy have to dictate what type of structure we have to put there, and the people also have to make a livelihood. Vision and mission and goals. Adequate housing is the cornerstone for this policy to create clear pathway towards progressive achieving adequate housing in urban and rural area, and not only in urban area, because sometimes we also want the people in rural area to have adequate housing and sanitation, because I think people using the bush is something that we have to do away, and I think there is also a program to address that. Sanitation in rural area that fits that environment. And also not to do pollution to our environment as well, because by the end of the day, our water table is going to be polluted if we do not do adequate sanitation in the area. The objective, this policy have 8 objectives. And I think those objectives, one of them is to unlock housing opportunity at scale, and that involves wide consultation to make sure that everybody is consulted so that we see how do we unlock those opportunities. Either some people going to do sweat equity, and some people who have the finances to deploy financing to those areas, community-based organization. So that is what we mean by unlocking opportunity. Strengthen Namibia human rights framework and for adequate housing, to try to focus public expenditure and prioritize it to the priority target group. The priority target group, if I have to take you back to my earlier slide, that is the 67% that we are talking about. Because at least the other percentage have affordability level. And this is the percentage that does not have affordability, cannot afford, and that require subsidy. And then to realign state support housing provision mechanism to access adequate housing, capacitate OMAs, because we realize that some local authority, either at technical level, they do not have the technical capacity. So that will also be part of this program, because at least without those resources, you will also not be able to deliver. So that is also one of the focus. Increase public sector investment. We also have to unlock that opportunity to see the public sector, how do they come and play a role? And I think towards the end of my slide, I will show you where public sector can play a role, because there is a platform created in terms of this policy, the committee that will allow all stakeholders to participate at that platform and to give their recommendation and advice to Honorable Minister. Improve environment. I think we live in an environment. This is the only space we have, and we have to safeguard it so that at least we don't pollute it, and make sure that we manage it well going forward for the future generation as well. And to foster housing innovation. We cannot do business as usual. The brick and mortar might not be the solution to our problem. And that's why we have to innovate and to come up with typologies that will talk to the needs of the people to address the situation at the moment, so that at least people can progressively also build on that. If the desire is to move to brick houses, but at least start somewhere with a decent structure. Okay. The strategies, these are the strategies that are actually to assist us in order to achieve the objectives, the 8 objectives that I mentioned before. And I will just touch briefly on like strategy number 1, that is actually to address objective number 1 on the other side, and that is to unlock the housing opportunity. How are we going to go about this? Is to strengthen Namibia housing information system. I think data is quite critical. And we have acknowledged that if you don't know what you have at hand, if you can't measure it, you will also not be able to know how to address it. And that's why the ministry and NSA are in partnership to created a Namibia housing information system, where at least we're going to have national data on the housing shortage, who need a house, who need land, and in which area, in which town. What are their affordability level? And then strategy number 2 will address objective number 2, and that is actually about rights, and to develop at least accountability and legal remedy mechanism to address all the legal implements that are impeding maybe housing development or flexibility in terms of town planning or approvals by local authority. I think to start off, like the flexible land tenure is one of such initiatives that are addressing such issue, and maybe they might also need improvement. So the committee and this policy make provision for those things to be looked at and to be addressed. Okay, I will go fast. Strategy number 4 is to achieve objective number 4 as well. We have various programs currently that might also need to be relooked at or to be modified in order to suit the environment. Like the decentralized build together, we got community-based organization such as Sheikh Dwella. Support to those institutions will have to be increased. And I think if we look at the priority group that we mentioned earlier to prioritize state funding, that is part of the group that we are talking about. Government employee rental houses. And it goes without saying, government employees who got subsidies, that also need to be addressed. Employee housing, that need to be addressed. That is the private sector. There is room for the private sector to come and play, how they want to have or to approach the committee or the local authority and make proposal how they want to address housing needs for their employees. Special need housing, marginalized community, that is also an area that is a focus of this policy and to be addressed. Rural housing support, that is an area that needs to be explored at a wider level. And I think we also need financial institutions also to assist us to say, how are they going to use or what type of security will they need for rural housing so that we can improve throughout and also improve the economic situation in rural areas so that people, rural urban migration can also be contained to a certain level. Okay? The impact of the policy basically is an enabler. We are not only going to look at measuring the number of houses, the number of urban that have been created is how many opportunities have been created and how many people have been empowered in order to be able even to build or to work towards providing themselves adequate housing. It's not only looking at one sector to say we are looking at the ministry must provide a house, or the government must provide a house. What are we going to do as a nation together jointly in order to address the housing problem and create those opportunities? Okay? So, and housing opportunity in general start at least with land, because a house has to be on land. Land servicing is going to be one of the biggest priority in this program. And then we're going now to the basic structure, of which you are provided in terms of the definition of adequate housing, whether it's a traditional house, whether it is an alternative building technology, all those are provided for within this policy. And then we are going to look at bulk infrastructure. That is also going to have a priority, because all those sewer network and the water infrastructure articulation, they need bulk infrastructure such as sewer treatment plant or water treatment plant. So those are going to be the first priority, so that at least people know where to connect to in order also to protect our environment going forward. Okay, the housing provision mechanism, as I indicated earlier on, we got community-based organization, credit-linked houses. I think this is mortgage financing by financial institutions, so there is a role for everybody to play in this area. Rental housing, both private and public. Rent-to-own housing, those are opportunities that are also there. Social rental housing, rural housing, self-built, or we can also find a mechanism, if financial institutions are prepared to play in this market, to create an economy in that area as well. Because you don't need to build yourself. There must be economic activity, there must be contractors in that area, or builders, people who are qualified to be able, who are sitting in rural area to be employed in the rural area to specialize in construction. And I think it's already happening. We must just intensify it and create an economy also in that area. Employee housing, I think that is what I was now talking about earlier on, to say we got government employees who are having subsidies. We must also tap into that and see how are we going to open up those opportunities for everybody to be able to build a house, whether it is now in town, or whether those who just came to town for employment, but they are prepared to, they are going to go back after their retirement to the village, at least wherever they want to build that house. So all those opportunities and modalities are on the table. The housing typology is endless. We are looking at how can we improve shacks and to leave them at corrugated iron. Can we make it a livable place? There are methodology to make it a livable place. Traditional housing, can we make them and better and improve them? Those are opportunities that we are also looking at. So that in terms of the definition of adequate housing, the house is fit for the purpose and for somebody to live into it comfortably, with decency. I think that is what the word I was looking for. It must be a decent environment to live in. Okay, detached houses, mixed-use houses, townhouses, and medium or high-rise apartments. So all those are opportunities that we have to look at when we do densification, and it's taking us back to the town planning process. Because to plan with the people for the people, start right there, because your densification must already be right as to what you're going to put there, instead of going to come and change it thereafter after you have done the town planning. We also then looking at subsidy. As I mentioned before, the 62% and the 7% of the majority of people, the affordability is very low. So therefore, subsidy have to come in various forms, so that at least those people can afford according to the income that they have. Whether land is going to be serviced or the bulk infrastructure are not going to be taxed to that community, those are the modalities that will be worked out even by the committee, with the input of all stakeholders who are presented there, to be able to make such presentation to Honorable Minister, and then for endorsement and to put in practice. So some of the subsidy that I mentioned before will also go up to as far as building material subsidy, especially maybe for people in rural area, infrastructure grant, compensation, rates and taxes, and even for gearing, because some financial institution might have capital, but and then in the area, if we want to go mass on land servicing, the affordability might not be there. So they might require certain equity to be put in either by government or by the local authority where gearing comes in, and then I think that can be addressed at various platforms through trust fund or through the local authority loan, whatever form that is going to be presented. At least a deal must just be structured that is going to work for the specific project and for the specific community. Okay? This is just an overview of the planning process, as I indicated before. What is the road to a house? Currently, we have the, I don't know whether you got the pointer here. Okay. Oops. I think the razor is showing that it's just moving forward. Okay, there is no laser. But I think on the left-hand side, as we can see, that is the kind of informal structure that we currently have in. And I think the process of planning for the people with the people must actually already start right there when we are doing community consultation and preparing our urban structure plan, to know at least how many people are there, how much land is available to relocate, so that you know whether it requires densification to put up a single unit or to put up a multi-story building to accommodate the community in that area. Or otherwise, people must be put to a new land that you are going to develop with services. I think some local authority are already out of land. And that's why this planning process becomes very important, planning with the people, for the people, so that you know already the typology of houses that you are going to put there going forward, how you planning for it, and how much funding will then be required to have the correct subsidy for that type of project. Okay, the implementation framework of this policy, there will be a National Housing Policy Implementation Steering Committee that I alluded to earlier. This committee will report and make recommendations to the Honorable Minister. It will manage the implementation action plan, the project that are on the implementation action plan, review project on the implementation action plan, and then also budgetary provision and do the structure, the deal structure for various projects on this. And it will then, there will be a coordination management support unit that will be almost like the project manager to this unit, and that will also make recommendation and advice. So the other structure is just the supporting, such as the Namibia Housing Information System is very critical on this project, because it will assist us with data. The trust fund is one of the special purpose vehicle under which funding can be provided both, and they can seek for funds both internationally and locally. And the other structure that are represented there are local authority, regional council, and private sector. who are key role players on this committee. Some of the, I think what I alluded on earlier is to say some people might not have finances. That's where sweat equity comes in. Community-based organization. Let's organize ourselves. And that is just an indication as to how one can contribute as to the opportunity that will be created and for people to participate in whichever way they can participate to make this policy a success. Resource mobilization, yes, we will be looking at the, I think for those people who cannot afford where we say we are going to put the majority of public funding, we will be looking at the national budget. The requirement for this policy, I think for the implementation action plan over the period of 5 years, we need around about 6.5 billion. And that is not only from public funding, it's a combination, both from private sector, structured transactions, deals, and banks, all those institutions that want to participate. And also, sweat equity, as we indicated earlier on. So this is just an overview how much funding is required for this project over a period of time. The monitoring and evaluation, that will be by the steering committee, and then annual report will be presented. There will be annual public forums, and by the end of the day, we will be looking at then revising or looking at what have the policy have achieved over the period of 5 years. In conclusion, as he indicated before, this policy is to enable and to unlock opportunities, and we'll be looking at policy reforms if necessary, based on the recommendation from the committee or the outcome. So we'll be quite aggressively, especially in the first year, is to look at what did not work in the past and how can we make it work going forward, especially for this 2024-25 financial year. Therefore, I thank you all for your kind attention, and I think I can end here.
Please give him a deserving round of applause. I was almost going to say to match his height. So thank you very much, Director Konduda. I want to believe that we now have some sense and basic understanding of what we are here to witness, to be launched today. It's quite a very comprehensive instrument, and it speaks to the usual issues that you as the leaders on the ground are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to remind us all to say, John Maxwell said the following: people don't care how much and what you know until they know how much you care. And if we care and we are serving in positions of trust, what is it that we are doing to improve the welfare and the well-being of the people under our care? And this policy is one of such instruments which is providing a framework and direction on what we need to do in the space not only of land, not only of housing. The policy is called housing policy, but contained in the policy clearly recognizes the intertwined relationship between land, the provision of land, and access to that land as an important first step into the delivery of a house. And I'm speaking to the converted, to people who are actually dealing with land, whether it's in urban areas or is in rural areas, the regional councils, the local authorities, the honorable governors are here. We have the stakeholders, the planners. What does it take to build one unit of a house? Even before that, what does it take? And what are the inputs that go into making up what you call an EV or a plot? It's a whole integrated process with very many diverse inputs and role players. And all these processes need to be coordinated for us to be able to have the impact that we want to see. In a nutshell, the policy has, if I would say, 4 main focal areas. One of them has to do with spatial planning and development, that we need to plan ahead and deliberately. That's why, in terms of the 2018 Urban and Regional Planning Act, it is required of regional councils to have regional structured development plans, looking at least 10 to 15 years in advance already. And those regional structured plans are supposed to be informed by urban structured plans, where each and every local authority have an understanding and clear understanding of what is the intended use of every piece that is under your jurisdiction, so that we don't have to be running after informal settlements. We should plan the land so that when people come to us in need of land, we will be able to say, we can accommodate you there. This is what we have for you. Okay, so that is very important. And then above the regional structured plan, then we are supposed to have national structured plans, development plans, so that as a government, at that level there, we know which area is zoned for what use, economic, social, and otherwise. So that is how important this process is. So as part of the policy, there is a component for spatial planning, which is the first stage. And then we are now saying, then let's now do the actual development. And we are recognizing to say, development based on the realities that we find on the ground would mainly be in 2 areas. One of the areas would be an area which is what we call greenfield. It's not yet inhabited. Yeah? It's open for us to start developing from scratch, greenfield development. But we have, on the other hand, a very, very worrisome reality of informal settlements. And that will fall under what we call brownfield. We need to improve the conditions of our fellow country women and men who find themselves in those areas. So we need to have strategies that are suitable and will help us to make a difference also in the brownfield type of areas. And once you do that, and that encompasses servicing and the infrastructure development, before now we can now talk about the actual housing, which is the last end of the process. So with that, I want to thank again Director Konduda. The policy, at the back of the policy, you'll see there is a very detailed implementation action plan, where each of those strategies that you have seen are actually broken down into specific actions. And even with cost implications indicated, it's towards the end. And the policy will be available, a few copies in print form, but we want to go digital. We want to avoid you having to carry extra luggage. And nowadays, we want you to be able, when you are not, when you find yourself not being able to sleep throughout the night, and you wake up at those creative hours of the early mornings, 3, 4, apparently those are the creative hours, then you can just go on your, on your mobile, and you'll be able to just cover a few of those pages in that policy and the strategy, and to inform yourself. So there will be, and I think around there are QR codes which you can just scan, and I see quite a lot of digital literate participants are already also following, looking at the document online. So that is very, very gratifying. We are here for the launch. And somebody said that a leader is somebody who knows the way and leads the way. And the person who has invited us here is an embodiment of those values. Please, may I kindly ask you to join me by standing up to welcome to the podium our Minister, Honorable Erastus Utoni, for him to speak to us. Honorable Minister, may I invite you to the podium, please?
Thank you very much. Please have your seat. Oh, Governor wanted to give more hands. And what prevented you? Him. Okay. Thank you very much, Edie, for inviting me to share with my fellow leaders from various sectors. And you have already, and your team, elaborated the details of what we want to do. Director of Proceedings, and that is Mr. Ngidinwa Daniel. Let me also recognize our Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Urban Rural Development, Honorable Evelyn Awases Taele. I also want to recognize if there's any other Deputy Minister or Minister here, I recognize them. I want also to recognize the Governor of Commerce Region and all governors from the 14 regions of our country, and I see many of them here. Thank you very much for gracing this very important gathering. Also to recognize our Mayor of the City of Windhoek, Honorable Queen Kamati, and other mayors from various local authorities in the country. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayors. I want to recognize all the regional and local authority councillors present here this morning. Thank you very much as well. Edie, I'll recognize you twice because you are the Executive Director in the Ministry of Urban Rural Development, and at the same time, the Chairperson of the National Housing Policy Implementation Steering Committee and the rest of the committee members. The Executive Director of various ministries and agencies, but I also want to recognize Mr. Alex Shimwafeni is in our midst. Thank you very much, and he's one of our partners when it comes to Ministry of Urban Rural Development. You just gave us a population figure this year. Thank you very much for your hard work. And you have, what we appreciate from you also, you have employed by that time our young unemployed youth. That's a commendable action. Thank you very much for that. I also want to recognize all the chief regional officers here present from all the 14 regions, the chief executive officers from all the local authorities in Namibia. Of course, I jumped somewhere there. Please forgive me. President of Alan, Councillor Samuel. The other name I cannot pronounce it very well, but Amseb I can pronounce. Honorable, thank you very much. Yes. Esteemed representatives of the business sector, civil society, and media, development partners, I see many of them here. Ladies and gentlemen, a good morning to you all. Yes, I look at your faces, you are so happy. Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very much delighted to be here this morning to officiate at the launch of the revised National Housing Policy and its implementation action plan, which was adopted by Cabinet in November 2023. And I'm proud that you came here in a big number. It tells me that you want to see something happening, tangible. Therefore, we are here, all of us, to give ourselves a marching order. All of us together, we are giving one another a marching order to go and do what the nation is expected from us, more particularly on the issue of housing. That is really a challenge to many of our community members. The process that gave rise to the revised policy, which I'm launching here today, was a collaborative and widely consultative one, and consisted of an assessment of the effectiveness and impact of existing policy strategies and interventions in the comparison to current and future challenges, dynamics, and developmental needs in the country in respect of access to service land and housing in both urban and rural areas. Fellow Namibians, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, the challenges of rapid urbanization and rural-urban migration, as well as their manifestation, among others, in the form of informal urban settlements and development, which is characterized by a mismatch between demand and supply in terms of urban services and infrastructure and poor conditions, can only be addressed meaningfully and sustainably through collaborative efforts and investment by state and non-state role players and partners. We need to work together as a team. We were elected those years to bring up some changes. But now that today we are talking about this, we are launching this program. And I'm requesting you all, honorable members, to put aside that issue of push and pull. The push and pull among ourselves will not help us to achieve and help our communities. This push and pull of political affiliation, I used to repeat this. Why do I used to say this? It's because I used to experience it. Push and pull because I'm from political A, I'm from political. You want to achieve, you cannot achieve you alone from political A. But the achievement will only be when the community see that yes, you brought up something tangible. The collaborative that I'm talking about, you remember in the past few months, we have requested you to provide us with information with areas that we think we can start with the servicing of land. Some of you have not yet provided those informations. What are you waiting for? Do you want us to collaborate together, or you want to delay the process? I want to thank those who have processed and disseminated information. They send it to us. Some of you have already given that, okay, we have so many or so much extensions, and extension contains 300 Elven. Those areas of them, some of them are already having a layout plan and surveyed. That will make it easy for us to start with a process. We want to start now. Edie, you are the chairperson of the steering committee. I want us to start. Yes. Minister of Finance said, I'll allocate money and I'll make efforts also to talk to him nicely so that he can give money. And he will give it. It's true. I'm not joking. I look like that, but when I take a step, it's serious. The way I talk sometimes is simple. The way I appear, it looks simple. But you are dealing with somebody who understands what he wants to achieve. It's true. That's how I am. Yes. So, I want us to collaborate effectively. And I want to give you or cite an example of a good collaborative where we have reached something, and I'm proud of it. It's only that maybe this thing is not being seen. And I want the media to bring out that image. The collaborative program that I have experienced is the one between the Minister of Urban Rural Development, the Municipality of Windhoek, NHE, the Regional Council, to build affordable houses in Windhoek. Many of you do not know whether we are busy building a lot of houses in Windhoek. And the media, they are not bringing it out. They are only saying we are not doing anything. Today you are there. Tell them, bring. The only unfortunate part is that, you know, these houses are built scattered. They are not lined up in a queue. But there are many, and these are affordable houses. What we have strategized, we said, why do we have to increase the price? Do you know what increases the price? When you build a house, you put in these ceilings, floor tiles, cupboards. You see? Yes. Those things, in a floor tile, in a square of a sitting room, it's already 10,000 or more, plus a labor. In the bedroom, in the kitchen, that pushes up the price. Then we are saying, remove those things, remove them. Ceilings, remove them. Let the owner, with his time or her time, put in and decorate her house or his house. And that is what we want to say, affordable. Yes. I also want to thank Buco. Buco came to join us. These are the private sector. We said, now you understand that the problem of majority cannot afford buying a zinc, a brick, and so on. Can't you not reduce a price? Of course, we know they are also importing some of these materials. But Buco said, I will assist this program. And this is what we want other business to come and help, because if we are not helping, only looking at the government, frankly speaking, there's nothing to achieve and develop this country. So this is the collaborative point that I want to emphasize much. So let's work together. When I come to you, to your local authority, and you look at my face, the way I talk, it's like I'm not peaceful. It's because I'm peaceful, I just want you to achieve something. That's the only thing. Yes. So that is that. I've seen some people have, agencies and private sectors have already started to buy in this program. Some of them have already approached, and they have already promised, and that is a good sign for us to move together as a nation. Indeed, the challenge of provision of and access to service land and housing is not becoming easier, considering the fact that as per the 2023 Namibian population and housing census, the population of our country is now 3,022,401. The census indicates that between 2011 and 2023, urban population increased by 65.5%, while the rural population increased by 26.3%. The challenge which we have addressed here is both the needs associated with the increase on the top of the already existing backlog. Sometimes we used to talk about 300,000. The backlog is 300. But when are we going to reduce that 300,000? If that's true. Simwafeni, the 300,000, is it what you got from the census? Yeah? Yeah, please come and tell us the correct figure. Because we are just assuming it's 300,000. It's what? Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to criticize you now. But let's work on the correct figure now. If it's 300 or more or less, we want to know. And I think it's good for us, for good planning, we need a correct figure. Yes. While challenge and task before us might seem doubting, it is my firm belief that we can address and achieve it in the words of our departed president, Dr. Hage Geingob, by pulling together in the same direction. Through a collaborative and participatory approach, we will achieve efficiency and effectiveness, as well as greater and coordinated impact. Brothers and sisters, honorable members, leaders, more especially we normally like to refer to them technical people. All of us are technical people. You can't tell me I'm not a technical people. I'm not a technical person, I'm sorry. I'm also a technical person on my own right. Yes. Now we are just technical people, and you put aside here. And they take it into that, yes, you don't know anything about technical. No. All of us are technical people. Yeah, but those who are implementing these things of too many papers around, with those nice, good English words. No, it's just becoming too much. It's true. A person comes there presenting nicely, and you get stuck, and then, yeah. No. Action. You know, something that you can touch. And it's just too much. And you go in the boardroom, and then you talk, and people are speaking nice. And sometimes when a person speaks nice English, you don't even feel participating anymore because the English is good. Yeah. No. Let's speak with our broken English as long as we produce. Yes, that's the most important thing is production. The outcome. Yes, we appreciate those who can speak nice English. It's also a good thing. Yeah, because we send them to school to study, but what we want is results. Results can also be achieved by somebody who speaks a broken English. It's true. Because, shiri, what I used to see. I used to observe in a boardroom. People are trying to get chance, I want to speak. And the meeting will not finish. Just a person wants to show that, yes, I can speak. You see, it's you, Governor. Thank you. Okay, so what I want to say, my dear leaders, is that let's not concentrate too much on too many things. We have asked you already, give us a land. That's action. How many Elven are in that specific extension? Edie, do you have money? Then Edie said, I have this. If we give you 1.2 million or 2 million, utilize that. Don't say I need more. Start with, if I give you 1.2 million, start with 50 plots. And tomorrow we'll be able to know that, yes, we service 50 plots in Aruab, and then 100 plots in Vetfrey, and 200 plots elsewhere. You want me to mention Hendy's Bay? Yes. Yeah, I cannot. Rehoboth, my twin sister. Yeah, thank you. That is what we want to achieve. So, I'm talking like this, but I'm really encouraging all of us to do what is expected from us. So in this regard, the housing policy provides an overarching framework for integrated human settlement development in the country by recognizing and emphasizing the principles of inclusivity, partnerships, and sustainability as critical requirements for achieving the ultimate policy goal of broad-based access to housing opportunities and adequate housing to progressively improve living and socio-economic conditions for urban and rural residents. More broadly, our approach to housing and human settlement development as articulated in housing policy is premised on the following principles. One, firstly, partnership and collaboration between public, private, and community actors. Secondly, principles are quality and affordability, which recognizes that houses must be built according to quality standards as well as at prices that home seekers can afford. Thirdly, or the third principles, are inclusivity and empowerment, whereby members of the community in both urban and rural areas are enabled to actively participate in the process of meeting their housing needs, as evident from the commendable work being done by the members of the community individually and or under the umbrella of community groups such as the Sheikh Dwellers Federation of Namibia, NGOs such as Development Workshop Namibia. The fourth principle is a pro-poor orientation, whereby a special focus is given to the poor and ultra-low income earners who, if left to the market forces, will not be in a position to help themselves and thus need more assistance in meeting their housing needs. The fourth one, that is the fourth principle, is innovation, which recognizes that the complexity of housing crisis in the country requires much more than conventional approaches and the use of out-of-the-box thinking and alternative methods in the development and provision of housing to many diverse housing needs in the country. The last principle are sustainability and integration. It is critical that our housing delivery process is politically, economically, socially, and physically sustainable. This, among others, requires a balance between end users' affordability, the standards and number of housing units required, as well as the required and available resources and capacity. It is equally important that our approach and strategies are holistic and integrated in nature, and that all housing development initiatives in the country are properly coordinated to ensure the desired impact. Director of Proceeding, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, I agree with Guy Kawasaki that a good idea accounts for 10% of a successful outcome, while 90% depends on effective implementation and hard work. In this regard, the policy has detailed implementation action plan setting out the various strategies for each policy objective, as well as an implementation framework and the responsible implementers and role players. I wish to use this opportunity to urge all of us, officers, ministries, and agencies at all levels of government, that is central, regional, and local levels, the private sector, from financial institutions to actors in the construction, or to act, yes, in the construction and build environment. The citizens, civil society, the academia, and developmental partners to familiarize ourselves with the content of the policy and its implementation action plan in general, and to come on board and make your contributions. The implementation framework and structures set out in the policy provide for the active involvement of all key stakeholders. One of such key structures is the National Housing Policy Implementation Steering Committee, which I am told has had its inaugural meeting in June this year. The overall responsibility of the committee is to provide strategic direction and ensure effective monitoring and evaluation of the overall implementation of the national housing policy in general and the specific targets set out in the action plan. Let me use this opportunity to welcome the members of the committee and to thank them for accepting to serve, yes. Other implementation structures are in the process of establishment, and I'm urging for this process to be expedited. This is the coordinating structure. We are not going to allow it only to you. We want to set up a coordinating body, and that body has to report, that coordinator has to report to ED. And I should also ask him, I should not only waiting for ED to tell me that they have done this. I'm also going to ask him, what have you done? No? This bureaucratic way of doing things, sometimes I used to get tired of it. Edie, prepare my brother, that I will interfere. Because I want something to be done, I will interfere. But I think he understands. He understands. When I approach them, I'll find a way not to create chaos. Yes. Like what? Oh, you are a problem. In conclusion, honorable members, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pressure of launching the National Housing Policy and its Implementation Action Plan. And I thank you all for your kind attention and attendance for the launch. I thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your very down to earth statement, which is providing very clear guidance that all what is required is action. We know what needs to be done, and therefore let's walk the talk. Okay? We've been doing a lot of talking, now let's walk that talk. And the Honorable Minister, I can assure you that, and that's why this hall is full, you have a committed team behind you. From the Honorable Governors, from the Honorable Regional and Local Authority Councillors, from the administrators, they will make sure that, and we will collectively make sure that, Honorable Minister, your aspirations and that of our political leaders, translate into tangible actions. We would, I think, ensure that the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. You have mentioned, Honorable Minister, the steering committee, and I just want to see whether my colleagues are here. I will just mention the institutions that are represented on that committee. So you have the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, you have the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises, very critical. We need resources. We have the National Planning Commission. These are all executive directors. And then we also have the Ministry of Works and Transport, Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. And then we have also NHE on board, very important role player. We have the Namibia Statistics Agency. We have Alan. We can't do without our local authorities collectively and through that association. Then we also have the executive officers of local authorities through NALAO. They are also on the steering committee. And we are saying we need a partnership, a working partnership. So we have the representation of community-based organizations, the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia. It's part of that. And then also we are saying we need skills. And when the minister was talking about technical people, the foot soldiers, he's basically saying he knows things have to happen with us. He just wants us to move with the speed. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with that. So the law provides that on the steering committee, we should have specialists that are appointed based on their skill set that they bring on board. The private sector, it's also to be represented, it's a partnership. And then we also have the academia, it's also to be part of that. And then on the resource side, again, we are saying institutions, DFIs, that's development financing institutions such as Development Bank of Namibia and the GIPF. We need that money to come and complement what we are able to raise as regional councils and local authorities and through the budget. And they have always been telling us, Minister had a meeting with GIPF yesterday, and GIPF is saying they are ready to come on board. So that is basically the structure, very inclusive. And below the structure, at the regional and the local authority levels, you would have seen the structure that was displayed by Director Konduda there. It provides that the development has to take place there, and you will have your own structures where individual or specific projects will now be, be designed and also implemented. but then they will now fit in, together with the rest of the program. Honorable Minister, now the next issue, and I see you have a laptop next to you, and we are saying we would have asked the minister to come and hold this heavy book and say, I now here do that. The minister is going to do it, the modern way. So there's a laptop next to the minister, and I believe the minister will now proceed and do the official launch electronically.
Yes. If I fail, please don't laugh at me. Yes, as I said earlier on, that we are here to launch our own program. And this program is to...
I think, Minister, we can bring the laptop here.
It's already gone.
Okay.
But the sound is not... No, I don't want to say technical people. I want those, the operators.
The sound engineers.
I was trying to look at the sound here, but the sound is not. The sound is up, but
Yeah, so you can see that the political leadership needs the technical people to that complementarity is very, very important. Honorable Werikwa, you are part of the technical people. So when the minister was talking about technical people, I was looking at his eyes, and they were most of the time on you.
The technical people, thank you, Edie. So, you are challenging me now, eh? When you say this, the other person has got another way of... Yeah. But the technical people are also failing. He came here, he told me something wrong. And then I said, no, bring another one. So he brought another one. Okay, let me see if this one is going to work now. Yeah. This is now to launch. You hear now?
Bravo.
Yeah, no, thank you. We appreciate the technical people.
So the the revised national policy on housing 2023 is officially launched. I am informed that there is supposed to be a short video following this. Yes. Yeah, Honorable Minister is saying he actually negotiated with the person that did the video to make it purposely short so that then, he can appetize you, so that then the next pictures to be put on the video will be houses in your own locality that you are going to develop to be added. That is what you are going to deliver. So, Honorable Minister, once again, on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for your continued leadership. May we now move to the next item, which is the last one. But I was wondering, I think we still have some time, and I am tempted to use the powers vested in me to just provide maybe allow 5-10 minutes, if there is any interaction, just for us to have Q&A on any issue that is burning or that you need any clarity on based on the presentation that was provided, which was very condensed. It was very condensed, and I think you may have some burning issues that you just want to raise. I am willing to allow that. Or maybe just even commitments. Minister has said, look, I want everybody, I want my people, I want all hands on deck. And, okay, so there is a hand there from Mr. Gisbertus Mukulu, who is the CEO of NHE. Do we have a roving mic? So, and when I look at him and I see the smile on his face, I'm sure he's not going to ask any question. He's going to make a commitment. Mr. Mukulu, and you are sitting next to your deputy chair of the board. So you have all the authority.
Mine is very simple. It's more of a protest. I think it's not the right platform for one to protest. Maybe it's just a correction to say energy is mentioned several times in the presentation, but it's not mentioned at all. Maybe it's an omission of sort. In the presentation, the energy is in, but it's never mentioned. It appears, I think, 3 times, but it's never mentioned. It's just a protest.
Okay. Okay. So NHE, so NHE, your role is there, and I have mentioned it when I was talking, about even the steering committee. So you are there. And it's in the document, it's documented. Nobody is going to erase NHE from the document. Yes, I have the city of Windhoek. So I have 2 hands at the back there.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. All protocol.
Just introduce yourself so that we.
My name is Pierre van Rensburg from City of Windhoek, Urban and Transport Planning Department. I just want to applaud the Ministry for coming up with this policy. I think it's at the right time for the right purpose. Just maybe 2 comments that I would like to raise on the policy that I picked up from the presentation. I think the one thing that we need to really think about when we start with the brainstorming process about how to make this policy a reality is whether a decent living opportunity or decent housing opportunity actually equals access to land. You do mention the option of high-rise buildings or multi-story opportunities, which does not equate land. And I think it was said by Director Kandundu that is not so land intensive. But and it inevitably always comes back to funding and cost. But if we look at cost, it's not only the land, it's also the cost of servicing. The cost of servicing of several plots in a row is obviously much more expensive than servicing a high-rise building. So I think we need to start that debate, whether it's also land or just a decent housing opportunity. Then I think the other point that comes out quite clearly is the issue of standards, building standards. What equates a decent housing opportunity, and how far are we prepared to lower our standards? I think that's a question that we need to seriously consider. Because on the one hand, you want to make sure that decent housing opportunity is safe for obvious reasons. You don't want the roof to fall in on your head. You want to have a decent chance when a fire breaks out. So all of those things have led to specific standards being established. So we need to consider the option of the trade-off between standards and cost. So I think it's a discussion that we need to start. I think the others are social and other reasons that one can go on about, but those two issues I just wanted to raise.
Thank you, Mr. van Rensburg. Yes, there was another hand at the back, and then we'll come to the front table.
Yes, thank you, Edie. I think first and foremost, I'm John from Umthia. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate the ministry from overcoming this milestone and getting this housing policy into action and actually launched today. However, I think Mr. Van Rensburg spoke about something that I wanted to address, but probably in a slightly different context. We're looking at housing in urban areas, meaning in local authorities primarily, and the cost surrounding that. I don't see how we significantly have addressed that. I know the policy outlines or simply or make it an objective to achieve certain things by certain times. But we have not significantly addressed the cost issue surrounding the provision of affordable housing, maybe specifically. Because we have industries that are self-regulated, and I thought that in this policy we'll address some of these issues. For example, our engineers that do designs for this, yes, we want quality designs, we want quality housing, we want quality standards, but sometimes the costs are just not, maybe they are reasonable, but they're just not affordable. And in this policy, I would have thought of maybe it would come later on when it comes to execution. How do we address the manpower behind providing a serviced plot to providing a good quality, affordable house? And the issue of affordability is always a debate because in our environment, some of us call a house that costs $500,000 affordable. And we have residents in our communities that cannot even afford to pay a water bill of 500 Namibian dollars. Yet we say they ought to live in a house which is affordable of $500,000. That is just my observation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And then we have Hans in front here.
Hello. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Dr. Ambrosius Ipinge. I would like also to congratulate the ministry for came up with a revised housing, national housing policy. I am a businessman and I'm a developer, and at the same time I'm also a senior traditional leader. Yes, all in one. Okay, I have only comments that I wanted to make. One, listening to the presentations and also to this the speech of the Honorable Minister, I'm missing something there. The representative of the business community may be on the steering committee. We have like NCCI, but I don't see NCCI may be represented on some of those forums. Maybe in future, maybe NCCI also need to be considered. The other thing, maybe this is another comment, because the building materials consisting of a main component of the whole housing constructions. Is there anything maybe where government can do something to incentivize the Namibian business people, for those who are manufacturing building materials, maybe to encourage them to do more and to come up with manufacturing of building materials so that we can maybe try to manage the cost of building a house? That's why we need the representative of the business community on some of these platforms. And the other aspect also, Honorable Minister, I would say that the housing sector is in ICU. And I must say that maybe we need a special program not to do it as a business as usual, to address this housing policy, to declare it maybe as a national crisis. By so doing, we might even say the figure that I saw here, 6.5 billion, maybe that 6.5 billion is only enough for Windhoek, but not for Lourdes, neither for Walvis Bay. We also need to prepare for the oil and gas projects.
Thank you.
Are we prepared? If not, let's maybe look at the figure that we need in comparison to what we want to achieve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's narrow down. Okay, can we have that? And then I'll end with this table. So we'll move to the, after that table, we'll move to the other table. And then we'll end with the front table. Yes, please. Oh, okay, yeah. Nobody should feel left out. I will come to you. Okay. Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Honorable Minister. My name is Emmanuel Festus. I'm from Walvis Bay Backyard Tenants Group. We were recently allocated a portion of land by Walvis Bay municipalities to construct something to call home. During the presentation, I have listened very well, and one of the keywords that I took from the presenter is that planning for the people with the people. And I want to hear if this policy is talking about, because our concern now, and one of the issues that was raised by the presenter is to say that some of the municipalities are now running out of land. And the people are saying, can we maybe look at reducing this mandatory of saying that an urban must have 300 square meters, so that I think we can accommodate more people.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Professor Eugene Chibu from the Namibia University of Science and Technology. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate the Honorable Minister and the Ministry for the policy. I just want to call our attention to housing in rural areas. And I would like to call on the Minister and the Ministry that as we move on with implementation, that we do not forget the rural areas and the rural regions of Namibia, because they constitute the main stakeholders in the development of this country. I'm very happy that the policy itself has recognized the importance of rural areas, but they seem to be often forgotten, you know, in the nationality and development dynamics, you know, of politics of the country, and I hope that we will not forget them this time. Thanks very much.
Shall we move to the right-hand side?
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I was almost left out, Oga. I was going to be very, very offended. Thank you. I want to congratulate the ministry and all your stakeholders for this milestone. I think it's more of a milestone as opposed to just a normal launch. My name is Tuapewa Kadikwa. I'm here in my capacity as a trustee on the National Housing Action Group. So I have two comments and one input. The timeline, Honorable Minister, you spoke about the English and Mehetoch. It says the launch of the housing policy 2023. But what is the timeline to that? What are we saying to ourselves as stakeholders, internally and externally? Are we targeting 2030? Is it 2040? Maybe you can just clarify that for us. Okay. And then secondly, I also serve as a vice chair of NIDA. And when I look at the statistics of 67%, there is a reality there of livelihood. Because now we are talking about housing, people are in houses, but they are depressed, unemployed, and the poverty becomes perpetuated because there's no economic activity. Perhaps you can look at that angle, and we are eager and willing to partner to intensify economic activity, because it's not sufficient to have a roof over your head and your children are unemployed, you are depressed. It becomes a perpetual cycle of poverty.
Thank you.
Lastly, sorry,
Okay.
I dropped one of my employees at their living places, and I couldn't even drive in. It was at the back of Havana, not even back of Havana, beyond Havana. It was at night, 9 o'clock, 2 young ladies. I couldn't even drive through to where their shack is. Can we not, in the meantime, maybe regulate even the layout and the size of the shacks while we get to the houses eventually? Otherwise, like that night, I drove away with a heavy heart, imagining what may happen, and they must be at work the next day, 7 o'clock, smiling, healthy, bathed, eager to deliver services. Shalom.
Thank you. Okay, shall we conclude? Okay, there is a pressing hand there. I want to conclude with this table here. Can we give that table, the lady?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my name is Raida Haufiku from Ministry of Works and Transport. So our question is, how will this national policy help elevate the backlog of GRN flats? Because currently MWT is facing a shortage of flats, and I see that the concentration is mostly on individual houses and whatnot. So we wanted to know, is there going to be an emphasis on GRN flats, like building flats and whatnot? Flats mostly.
Thank you. That's housing for public servants. Okay, good. Thank you. So I'm giving the table here, the last one, and I want Konduda to be on standby together with Taniseb. I also see Dr. Chiramba from NAST is here. He was we worked very closely with us, and he has the full knowledge of the implementation action plan and what is contained in there. And we will have to join forces to address and clarify the issues. So please, Doc. Mr. Shimwafeni.
Thank you, ED. Honorable Minister, I just wanted to get to your question in terms of the backlog. When you asked what is the backlog, when I said we need to get there, I just want to mention that we have now rolled out the housing information system, but unfortunately, only 35 out of the 57 local authorities have started populating this housing information system. And the housing information system really gives us all the information, including the need for housing or the backlog. So once that is completed, we'll be able to have an exact figure. And then finally, just to mention that when we did the census, it's not only a population census, it's a population and housing census. So information about the types of houses, even number of people living in informal sectors or informal settlement, that will also be provided when we give the final report end of October. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Honorable Governor Ganate.
Thank you very much, ED, and congratulations, Comrade Minister. In fact, no wonder you're so effective because you have been a mayor and no local government. And honestly speaking, I do not want us to bring again another bureaucratic exercise here with structures and bureaucracy after bureaucracy. If you look, for example, at Hobaba's more than 4,000 these corrugated iron houses in only one sector called Canaan Sea. People who have nowhere to help themselves, and the area have already been formalized. And there are so many young unemployed people, Omaheke having an unemployment rate of 39%. Why not congregating a lot of young people, give them a spade and a rake and whatever, and we dig trenches? Because Omaheke is having a success story that everyone flocks to, called Freedom Square. how communities can service urban and can construct houses. Why reinventing the wheel? For places like that, just inject the money, say, governor, local authority, regional authority, identify people. And we have so many people who are, for example, good in manhole buildings and plumbing. We have a VTC there. Let's just put all these young people into the work. Let's service this urban. Let people have decent sanitation before even constructing houses. And let's look at government rental houses, where a person rent with an option to buy it. It's happening across countries of Europe. Why not with us? And of course, I appreciate NHE houses, but some of the houses that were constructed also in Omaike, a double bed cannot fit. So, but I mean, so it's better to build a house without ceiling and without tiles, as opposed to build a fancy house and it's not habitable. So my plea, comrade, is that we are ready. We had success stories of Omaike with the Mapange housing and other types of houses that we have built, and we just want the money to come and us to do. And we have a lot of service urban that were promised for the mass housing that are still idling. So with Omaike, can we just start as a pilot? And then the people can follow afterwards.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Governor. I think that concludes our short interaction. There is a lot of information. Most of the issues that have been raised are actually addressed in the policy, much more in the implementation action plan. You will see them there. Even on the issues that were raised to say the issue of cost, how do we make those houses affordable? There are details in terms of a subsidy, both in terms of the end use side of things, but also through the development process, except that we are saying we don't have, and it's not sustainable to incentivize the whole process. So we have a targeted subsidy, in terms of where do we come in. And we have even identified the special groups, we call them priority target groups. Director Konduda, can you come in? Can you start? You can have a roving mic there. I will compliment you. So the first question from Mr. Rensberg speaks to typologies and also the issue of densification. I think you have covered that to say, what is the most effective way? Is it only single that? But in terms of the typology, I think you have addressed that. Can you have the mic? I will come in where, if I see anything to add.
Yeah. Thank you, Director Ceremony. To that question, whether it's only land that is needed, this policy is not going to be one shoe fits all. I think, as was complimented already by Honorable Governor, is that we have to look even at government-rented houses with an option to buy. And that goes without saying that where we have a higher density of people and the local authority is running out of land, unfortunately, in the future, we have to start moving upwards. And that is just the reality that is facing us. And for those who can afford and are comfortable with such unit, will be accommodated accordingly based on the budget that is available. And then they will be sharing land because it's a sectional title. So it's whether you own an earth on its own or whether you co-own it in a sectional title where you have ownership of that specific unit in that sectional title, whether it is upstairs. But ownership of that house you will have in one form or another. Okay? Maybe the second question from John. Okay, this question I did not.
The question was suggesting a trade-off between affordability and standards.
Okay.
Is there a trade-off? Because according to him, there is a trade-off. Just address that issue.
Yeah, I think the adequate housing as defined by UN Habitat. Again, it goes to the point to say, not one shoe fits all. because traditional houses are also recognized. Because the standard that we set in town, if we say Namibia as a nation, then it must also apply to the rural area. Because if a person living in rural area is comfortable in that structure and is not falling apart, I think it meets standard to that level. And that is according to the affordability. And I think local authority are implored to look at alternative building technology and alternative building method and to think outside the box so that such structure meeting the safety is also accommodated according to the affordability so that people incrementally can improve their situation and their condition of living. Yeah, and then the question of Dr. Shipiki. The business people not included. I think we have to look at that structure. And if there was an oversight from us, I think the committee will also look into that to say whether NCCA was not included on that structure. But by the end of the day, I think improving local manufactured goods is one of also the aim of this policy as it is coming even from the mass housing development program. That at least local produced material must be encouraged, business activity must encourage in those community so that they can be self-sustainable. So that is basically the aim going forward.
Yeah, just on that one, just to complement, there's a provision for private sector representation, two members. It's actually in the policy. Then there's there was a question from Councillor Ndeutapo on the cost.
Yeah, to reduce the cost, I think we all have to think outside the box, come up with alternative building technology, come up with products that are actually fitting the affordability of the people and the community that we are going to serve. Yeah. And then the other one about the mandatory 300 square meter per plot. The 300 square meter per plot is just a guideline. It's not mandatory. And it makes provision for the community and the local authority that see that the community wants that plot to be reduced. It's just to make an application to Honorable Minister and for Honorable Minister to consider and to approve accordingly. So it's not cast in stone. And that's why densification also comes in to come with multi-story building, because that is already telling you that you are going to accommodate more people on a densified area, which accommodates flats and high-rise. So it is a provision. We must just identify it in our urban structure plan, in our regional plan, so that at least it is already accommodated what the community needs. And that's why I was emphasizing earlier on to say planning with the people, for the people is critical. And if that is what the people need, that's what the people have to put forward for consideration. Okay? Okay, rental area, I think the policy make provision for rental accommodation, and also it goes without saying, and I will address the other question also for Ministry of Works and Transport, that is also provided for in the policy, both private sector and also government. So, and I think the representation, we are also well represented on the committee. The other question, whether we have to provide access, and then also so that at least we do town planning in the area. I think local authority are quite a number of them where people have settled informally in those areas. They are trying their best to try to do community assessment and to relocate the people, do layout, but those who are running out of space, they cannot move people away. And that's where the issue of now, talking deeper to densification and reducing those plots have to come in. So some local authorities are trying their best, but I don't think we are moving at the right pace, and I think it is fair to say we have to move at a much faster pace to address the problem so that at least those areas are accessible, and even for emergency purposes, the people can be evacuated as soon as possible to get to, for medical attention, okay? And then also, I think you address the issue of economic activity. Inclusive town planning will also be part of community-based interaction during the urban structure plan, so that at least you can either decide that in that community, maybe the people in that area are good in agriculture, so that you can accommodate and zone that area right from the beginning for urban agriculture. I think one of the local authority that we can talk to with a urban structure plan that is already in place is Swakopmund municipality. Is something to look at and to emulate and to improve as well. So this provision as provided for by the Urban and Regional Planning Act is already there, but the community have to play a role. Okay, the question of Ministry of Work I have addressed. The period up to when this policy is going. The policy is for 5 years. It was just revised in 2023 at the end. That's when Cabinet actually approved it. But the period is starting for the financial year 2024 for a period of 2025 for a period of 5 years up to 2028. Yeah. Okay, the issue about community being given an opportunity to service land, I think that provision for sweat equity is provided for in the policy, and I think we take note of that, and we will also present it so that the committee will also emphasize on those points and to see which communities are ready. I think, Edie, I have addressed all the 9 questions.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. Dr. Shiramba, do you want to add on anything? Otherwise, while the mic is coming to you, the issue of rural housing, it's actually on page 30, I think it's page 32 of the, yeah, page 32. So rural housing support, the whole detail about what needs to happen is on that page of the document. And it goes further to even look at issues like government has Wholesome, which is the homeowners staff housing, which is largely applicable currently all in urban areas because of the leasehold status of land in urban areas, but it's not applying in rural areas. And this policy is calling for a deliberate move and reform of that, so that then government can also look at the application of such very important incentive to also apply in the rural area settings. So that provision is there. And then you have also spoken about incentivizing private sector. Again, there are details in terms of the specific areas where such incentives are dealt with. And for Memekadikwa, again, we cannot agree more to say a house or a plot has a cost to it. Even if we were to have all the money to develop houses for everyone, the issues of rate and taxes, you know, a livelihood, all these issues are intertwined. And therefore, it's important that we recognize that housing is not only a social issue, it's an economic issue. That's why in our planning of availing land, we should also look at the other supportive interventions that are required. That's why through the Urban and Regional Planning Act, for instance, there is a provision for urban agriculture, so that then people can be allowed to have backyard gardens for their horticulture, so that they can complement what they are able to, to buy from the shop. So that complementarity is very important, and it's recognized. The issue, Honorable Governor Nganate, on the issue of housing, not only to focus on the provision, the actual delivery of houses, but also that housing is also very important instrument for general economic development, including employment. And that's why we are saying, and if we are looking at the question from Councillor Ndeutapo, there on the cost. One of the ways to address that cost is not only at the end where you are looking at the construction of the house. It has to be throughout the value chain, where we must deliberately manage that cost. This thing, as the minister was saying, we always say, no, the market forces are saying this. This is the price in the market. Or the standards, these are the standards. And the question is, whose standards are they? Okay, we should get to that point where we should also be dictating, what happens together with our people. As we are saying, the typologies, the different types of housing units are there, quite a range of them. Allow people to decide what suits them. The issue of the size of the plot, 300 as the minimum. We have living examples of the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia and the Twangana Fund members. They came to the minister and said, Honorable Minister, 150 square meters is enough for me, and that is what I can afford in Windhoek. Please allow me to have that. And the minister has given a waiver from the 300 square meters because the law allows him to do that. And even in that, Farm 37, Wafish Bay, the plots there are less than 300 square meters. I think it's 220 or 250 square meters. So the law allows for that differential, demand-based type of issue. So thank you very much. Honorable Minister, I want to allow. There's a question there. Okay, okay.
Can respond to Ms. Kadikwa's question on the location. Maybe they have some information.
Mr. Van Rensberg, and I also see Mr. Akwenye and TH, they are on this table, and the whole team from the city of Windhoek. So can you provide clarity on that issue? On the informal settlements?
They did not catch
Okay, but Ms. Kadikwa is just a table behind, behind you. So she can, if she's okay with her, she can repeat. Yes. Yes.
Honorable, you are referring to my last question of the standards?
The one of, you had the family.
Oh, yes. So I'm looking at the timeline between where we are and where we want to be, because there's still a reality. Where we are now, we have too many kabashus. One is an eyesore, and secondly, it's just not safe. In the meantime, moving forward, Charmaine, my sister, can we not regulate just what size, if you're going to have a kabashu, it's fine. What size must it be? Where must the door face? Where must the back face? Because now it's chaos. And I was referring to the unsafety that particular evening and many other evenings. How do I drive away when young women are running into a dark area and I expect them to be back at work tomorrow? So I just wanted to know, we are in control mode. Are we not the leaders? And leaders are there to make decisions. And the decisions are supposed to move us from A to B, where B is a better place. In the absence of the master plan or the 100%, is that not possible? Minister, if you gave a waiver to 150 squares, I beg, you can give a waiver to this request.
Thank
and
you.
just say, if the kabashu is there, it must be like this, for the sake of our sanity and safety. That was my input.
Thank you very much. So, City of Windhoek, you have an informal settlement upgrading strategy. Just touch on a few of the, the components of that strategy in response to that question.
Good Afternoon, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, all protocol observed. My name's Tienes Yenes. I'm from the Housing Division at City of Windhoek. Yes, we are busy with our line ministry, NHE and KRC with an informal settlement upgrading strategy. And the idea physically is to bring, obviously, some sort of order to informal settlements, either via reblocking, to make sure that our informal settlements are lined according to a particular layout. And while we are doing the houses that we're actually doing, we're doing in situ upgrading while people are staying there. In terms of the order of facing a particular direction, obviously there are some areas that we have found that are already settled. But with our human settlements, as we move and migrate to areas, we are reblocking and reordering those areas. So it is an elephant that was created that we are busy assisting to tackle. And it takes not just from, because we are housing and land delivery, but it takes it from a planning perspective as well, as the director alluded to, that we need to have all these keys working together. But we are working towards addressing that. I hope I've answered the question.
Okay, thank you. So in addition to the reblocking, you have also the certificate of occupation to say while you are doing the formal tenure security, titling, you in the meantime assure people that they would not be, at the risk of evictions and all that. You recognize them to say you have a right to be where you are while we are bringing development, according to you, in an incremental and in situ type of approach. So I think, yeah. Okay, so Mr. Chipuya from NHE, you are the last one, really. Dr. Chiramba, would you, no, I will give after Mr. Chipuya, and then you can make your quick remarks. And then, Honorable Minister, if you have any last remarks on that one before we can then give the floor to our Honorable Deputy Minister to conclude. Yes, sir.
Morning, everyone. My name is Hastings Chipuya. Yeah, I just wanted to add on, this is a great opportunity, and I want to reiterate again on what the Honorable Minister and you, ED, mentioned earlier about the ISAP. ISAP is a great opportunity on the multi-stakeholders engagement in providing housing from end to end, from provision of service land up to the construction and delivery to the homeowners at a very, very cost-effective process. We have seen pricing, when we talk about affordability, we are talking about as low as 700 Namibia dollars that the homeowner is paying monthly. So we are bringing it back onto to touch the bone and the contention, the problem in the house, to be addressed on the affordability. And towards my senior, Mr. Piu Ganate, I think our houses are fitting the double bed, but not the king bed, the king size. I just want to iterate on that. And our target group is on the ones that can afford on the double bed, not the king size. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah. So we need, we need to be adaptive, and we also need to scale up. Dr. Chiramba, can I allow you to make a few interventions, please?
ED, thank you very much. And Honorable Minister, we thank you. Deputy Minister, we thank you very much for launching this policy. And indeed, the discussion that has just taken place now demonstrates that we will have to continue with this dialogue, because I want to underline what the director said, no one size fits all. And I also want to underline and welcome very much what the Honorable Minister said, that everyone should play their part and contribute to this. Therefore, because the circumstances are different, this dialogue is likely to continue. And the observations that have been made, some of them are responded to in the policy, but some of them calls for further interrogation, which I hope we'll be able to do as we move along. But the most important thing, above everything else, is for us to begin to implement. Nothing's perfect right from the beginning in life. We have to implement, and as we do so, we'll get better. And again, I would like to thank you very much for launching this policy, and let's all commit towards implementing it. And the vibrance I see in the room is very encouraging, ED, and I hope we'll be able to deliver the outcomes, the results that the Honorable Minister has highlighted to, which I think ultimately matter to the communities and the people of Namibia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chiramba. Honorable Minister, would you like to have any reactions to the Q&A? You can do it from where you are.
Thank you. No, I just want to thank each and everyone here for the comment you made, because some of them we are learning from the comments, and it's a good thing. I only wanted to, I don't know whether Conduda has responded on that one, and yourself, ED. The incentive to business people to manufacture materials. I think it's a good thing, and it's a good proposal. It also depends on how our people, now that they study this document, they can organize themselves and make a presentation to us. Not only I, even to the Minister of Industrialization,
yes,
Minister of Finance, and then you say, colleagues, this is what we have. Can you not do something to help the project that is going on? So maybe that is something that all of us, as I said, all of us, we can brainstorm and then bring together the thinking and then move forward. So that is what I can just suggest, that let's organize ourselves. I was telling, you know, I went to WIS one day, I said, I look at the mining there. I was saying, we need to reorganize ourselves. And then the person, when they came to come and say, where's the money? I said, start with the planning. Organize. The money will come later once you have a plan. Yeah, that is what I wanted to say. There's 6.5 billion. I don't know whether you have mentioned or you have tackled on that one or Conduda. Yes, it might not be enough. But you know, as we all know that, you know, every financial year you are budgeting. And the program is going for 5 years. Let's assess and then see how is it going to cost us or how much. And then maybe that would depend on how we can then plan again to do that. Yes, it might not be enough now. I don't know whether also you have touched on the general government rental houses. Did we, have we already provided an answer?
Yeah, but
oh,
Minister
okay.
can touch on it as well if you would like to.
But I don't want to duplicate if we have already provided an answer. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Honorable Minister, thank you. Really, the issues that you've touched on, every comment that was made is so relevant. And it just really highlights how we have complementarity on what needs to be done. And also the fact that we need all hands on deck. And you will not have, again we repeat, there is no one shoe fits all. You have to look at the target and you respond according to that situation. In terms of resourcing, the policy provides for a mixed basket. What government can provide affordably, but then also what we can provide as other stakeholders. So we are even looking at, as we said, we have the DFIs, Development Financial Institutions. We have the private sector. Private sector is saying they are busy, and most of them have been financing private developments. Most of the private developments in town here is provided. And the law does not only talk about housing. When we are talking about housing stock, and that is what the CEO of NSI was talking about, we have 4 modules in the Namibia Housing Information System. One of them is housing stock, where we want to understand what is the need of houses in the country, and how much of what is required in terms of stock is available, and what is the gap. Yeah? And that stock does not necessarily have to be provided and funded by government, even through private sector funding, through banks. That's what, because the people that are getting that type of, as Conduda said, you call that mortgage financing or mortgage housing, is still a Namibian and is counted among the people that needs houses. As much as we are saying the backlog is in the ultra low and the low and ultra low segments of the population. So I want to encourage us that we find time, we scan the policy, and where there are hard copies, you also go and read through that. You will get much more details in terms of what is in there. And this is just a beginning. So Minister is launching, but we are going to have, an interactive engagements. We are going to have also, where necessary, even road shows where we come to you. Either we group you as regions still, if there are burning issues that are, cross-cutting, we can come and put you together in a group. Again, we talk about the actual, what they say, where the rubber hits the tarmac. Yeah, those issues, when we get into the actual implementation, that's where a number of other realities will crop up, and we need to be able to respond to them as and when they arise. And we are likely to learn from each other. Number of local authorities, Swakopmund, Wafish Bay, you have some good examples. Arwab, NHE, you also have done some. So we have things to learn from each other. And through this process of collaborative, I think, Honorable Minister, no mountain is too high to climb. With that, please, may I now, Honorable Deputy Minister, you have been waiting patiently. And I'm not going to say that you are the one sitting between us and our lunch. But may I kindly invite you to come and do what you are prepared to do for us, to move a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, our able Executive Director, Kintinwa Daniel, as he is passionately known, my Minister, Honorable Erastus Utoni, the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, and that ends with yours truly, the Principal Assistant to the Minister. That's me. Now, having said that, I stand by the protocol as established by the Director of Ceremonies. I'm honored and delighted for the opportunity given to me to move a vote of thanks. To start off, I would like to extend special gratitude to the following individuals and institutions for their individual roles and contributions during the policy review and development. The top leadership of government, namely the cabinet, in particular our Right Honorable Prime Minister, who ensured that the policy receives the necessary attention, focus, understanding, and support at that critical level of the executive by organizing a dedicated session of the cabinet for this day to realize today. The Joint Cabinet Committee on Treasury and Trade and Economic Development in general, and especially the Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises and the Director General of the National Planning Commission for the guidance and stewardship. At the center of it all is our visionary minister, Erastus Utoni, whose direct and hands-on approach, rather leadership, was the glue that held and continues to hold everything and everyone involved together. Please join me in giving him that hands. The real heavy lifting work was done at the technical level, and I would like to recognize and express our gratitude to the Committee of Executive Directors, of our able Executive Director who was chairing this committee, assisted by Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises and National Planning Commission, which provided oversight. And the task team composed of senior officials from the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, Finance and Public Enterprises, and Works and Transport, National Planning Commission, Namibia University and Science and Technology, the National Housing Enterprise, NHE, I recognize you. And the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia, Namibia Housing Action Trust. A special word of thanks goes to NAS for availing experts that were part of the task team and who greatly assisted in review and the compilation of the policy and implementation action plan. The policy review was informed by consultations and valuable inputs received from the broad range of individuals and institutional stakeholders in the public, private and non-governmental sectors, as well as international research, institutions and development partners, which engagement took place at various occasions in and outside Windhoek. In this regard, I would like to point out the internal stakeholders such as regional and local authority councils, professional bodies, and construction industry, who are critical direct role players in the delivery of land and housing for their valuable contributions, and to urge them to fasten their belts and prepare themselves to play a central role in the actual policy implementation. On behalf of the Minister and the team, I would also like to express our gratitude to other partners for their valuable contributions at various stages of the policy formulation, as well as the development of the strategies, especially in the areas of informal settlements and data. These are UN Habitat, GIZ, World Bank Group, International Finance Corporation, and KFW, and our own Namibia Statistics Agency. Thank you, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology and Paso Studio for your editorial design and printing services. Our appreciation to media houses for the coverage, and especially to NBC for our partnership and a special live streaming and coverage that we are enjoying today at all events, at all times, at all platforms. The Minister and I am deeply grateful to all those partners who found time in their busy schedules to attend the launch in person, as well as those who have tuned in and are following virtually. Last but not least, I would like to thank the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development team that has been working hard and has made this event a reality. My parting message is abbreviated as TEAM, stands for Together, Everyone Achieves More, and I kindly thank you for your kind attention.
Please keep it going for our Honorable Deputy Minister. You know what they say, behind every successful person, there is an able and, you want to finish the sentence for me? Okay, but fine. Whichever, whatever you chose to fill the dotted lines, it's fine. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your co-leadership of the team, together with the Honorable Minister. And we now come to a point where we have to end this very important and constructive engagement. Once again, thank you very much for coming through. May I now ask you to please rise so that we can close our event with the AO and national anthems, after which we have we want to make sure that you stay, we still stay you to, so that we can have informal discussions.
Let us all unite and celebrate together. The victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the star, let us make Africa the tree of life. Namibia, land of the brave freedom fight, we have won. Glory to their bravery, whose blood waters our freedom. We give our love and loyalty, together in unity, contrasting beautiful Namibia, Namibia, our country, beloved land of savannas, oh, fly the banner of liberty. Namibia, our country, Namibia, motherland, we love thee.
So once again, thank you to you all for having come through to attend physically the launch. We also want, Honorable Minister, to appreciate our fellow countrymen and women who have also been following this event online, and most of them have already been giving some feedback and all that. So we thank you very much, everybody, and have a blessed day. As I was saying, we want us to, to continue the informal engagement, and the hotel has provided another venue where we can have that interaction. So when you get out of the hall, don't go to your vehicles yet. So we want to continue that engagement. Just follow the corridors, and the venue is downstairs. Thank you, everybody, and God bless.